you're basically having a conversation.
Okay, here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports and Gaming. It was about less than 12 hours ago I did a video on what I would do if I were to manage Deontay Wilder post-fight. If I were to manage Deontay Wilder after he got beat by Tyson Fury, what would I do? And I said one of the people that I would suggest for Deontay Wilder to talk to was Big George Foreman. And what, less than 9 hours later, he comes out on TMZ and says, I spoke to Deontay Wilder. Listen, boxing is as predictable in the way it works in a system like this. Now, I think George Foreman, as a counsellor, as an inspirer, or someone inspirator. I think it's even a word. Someone who can inspire. Obviously, he's a preacher as well. So, him and Deontay, they have similarities. And I said this before, why I thought that Wilder and George Foreman would have been a better match than Lennox Lewis and Wilder in terms of mentorship. And I'll explain why. And George Foreman hit it right on the head. When I spoke about George Foreman, the way he got beat by Muhammad Ali, and he came back and became champion again. I mentioned this in the video, yesterday's video, and mentioned how his experience, George Foreman's experience of getting beat by Muhammad Ali and then coming back to become world heavyweight champion again all those years later. It was a monkey on George's back for many years. He never got the rematch with Ali, and it really tormented him for years. Because Big George was a phenomenal heavyweight. Well, he was knocking everybody out. And Ali, everyone looked at Ali and said, Ali, really? You really want to fight this guy, George Foreman? There was a story that went around that George Foreman hit a cow with one punch and killed it. I don't know how true that story is. But Foreman was a menacing presence. He was a bad man. A real bad man. A nasty piece of work, Foreman. In his heyday, when he was younger, before he turned to God and that stuff. He was a nasty piece of work. And Ali, with his faith and what he did, he soaked up all Foreman had to do. He made Foreman raging mad, made Foreman punch himself out, and as you know, the famous rope-a-dope. But this is what I talk about heavyweight history, and why, while Wilder's been going around knocking people out, in terms of heavyweight history, maybe that was something that he took for granted, and he needed someone with some heavyweight history in terms of George Foreman to counsel him, to mentor him, to talk to him. I didn't believe it was a new school guy that would help George Foreman, help Deontay Wilder. For Deontay Wilder to beat Tyson Fury, he needs to go old school. He needs to go back to school, and he needs someone like a George Foreman, not necessarily to train him, because I don't subscribe to George Foreman training him, mentoring him, counseling him, talking to him through it. Yes, but then the trainer, Bashir, I keep saying it before, Bashir, Stacey McKinley, or Tommy Brooks. Those three guys. And I said, the best guy for Deontay Wilder to get at this point in time, the best man, who else is there that you can go to for Kronk to beat a guy who's using the Kronk style to beat you, than to go with a guy who's right next to the master Kronk, his right-hand man, James Ali Bashir. I've been saying this over and over and over again. No new school trainer is going to help Deontay Wilder. It's got to be an old school trainer, because it's old school that beat him, and it'll be old school that will beat Tyson Fury. Not new school, old school. Old school, the old tricks, boxing fundamentals, boxing 101, shutting off the social media. And I think George kind of alluded to it about social media and it getting on top of Wilder and getting top of Wilder's team. See, if you get sucked into the hype enough and you don't know how to control it, you become the hype. And then when you become the hype, you get swallowed up by it. You understand what I mean? So Wilder and his team, or his team, they cannot cope with that. They haven't got the know-how how to cope with this where they are now. Do you understand? So they need someone with a cool head from the outside to come in and just do one thing, and one thing specifically, one thing: get the win against Tyson Fury. That is it. Nothing else matters. Target on Tyson Fury. You go into the mountains, or you go where you need to go in a secret location, and you lock off. You train like a Marvin Hagler. You train like a Lennox Lewis. You train like a Vladimir Klitschko. And the only way you're going to know how to train like that is to get a person that knows how to do that. JDS can't teach you that. Brilliant might be able to give you a bit of that. But really, a master for that stuff? Again, Bashir. You know, they know how to lock a camp down. They know how to, people coming in and out camp. What are you coming to camp for? What is your business in the camp? Are you a sparring partner? No. Are you a fighter? No. I don't want no photographers in here. I don't want no Instagram. I don't want no Facebook. I don't want no Twitter. None of all that stuff out. You turn up, you do your press conference, and you're out. Nothing's been said. So, and George also talked about Deontay Wilder being a sensitive guy. I think so. George would have probably spoken to him about behind closed doors and realised that all the hype around Deontay Wilder is, I won't say it's a facade, but it's an act, or it's a show of strength. But deep down inside, Wilder's a real sensitive type of guy. So he kind of revealed that, George. I don't know if George spoke too much then by saying that, but he said what he had to say for the interview. So he made it clear, and he said that he could, this fight against Tyson Fury, the rematch, you know, he can win this fight and easy or easier. But of course you can win a fight easier if you've got the right fundamentals and the right tools. And again, I go back to James Ali Bashir. If you go back there with JDS and Mark Breland, I'm sorry, it don't work. Because Wilder's style hasn't changed. He has made changes, yes, but they're not significant enough to beat Fury in this last fight now. He has to do something different. And for me, it's got to be bringing someone like Bashir in. Absolutely. Thank you, brother. It's got to be about bringing Bashir in. He's got to do that. I don't see how anyone else, if you're a king, you bring the best in, and Bashir is the best out there at the moment for what you require at heavyweight, and you're going against a crunk fighter. Surely you want to get someone who's a master of crunk, and the only master I know of crunk after Emmanuel Stewart would be James Ali Bashir. So it's down to Wilder and his team now, but he needs the best possible. George can give him training and he can talk to him, but I still think you need a specific, you need an expert. George is maybe a commentator and a preacher and a motivator. It's great, but I don't see George as an expert trainer because he's done nothing to suggest he's been an expert trainer. You can talk about it all you want, but to be in the gym every day, stand up with him, no. He needs Bashir to do that. I think so anyway. But those are my thoughts. Somebody's going to be able to teach him how to use his jab correctly, set up shots with his right hand. You know, when to drop the right hand, how to use the jab to put yourself in position to throw the right shots. So those are my thoughts, but I do believe that Bashir is the way forward. Let me know your thoughts. It's got to be old school for Deontay Wilder. This new school stuff ain't going to work. Having Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. No. Stop all that stuff. That celebrity stuff's got to cut. Listen, when you win back your title, then you can do all that stuff. But for now, it's got to be war, like Marvin Hagler, like Lennox Lewis. Up in the mountains or wherever you need to go in your secret location and nobody sees you on social media. You know what I mean? That's what's got to happen. I'm bringing a trainer worthy of a king. Those are my thoughts. I'm out. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments as always. And check out the videos at the end of this video here. At the end of this, on down this way, there'll be some videos afterwards. Check them out. Take care.